Hey, welcome to another archive edition of Chad's Beer Podcast. In this episode, was talking with Matt Stewart, better known as MT Stewart. Let me show you his channel real quick in case you've never seen it. He's been gone for quite a while. He just have a video where he has 65,000 views. And, I mean, it's fun. These are sorted by most popular. If we go to, Matt did a lot of movie talks and TV talks and, kind of like reviewing a movie or a TV show while reviewing a beer. And then eventually he just did straight up beer. And Matt and I did quite a few trades. I know we did, because ironically enough, he was in Florida in the Miami area and I was in Albany at the time. And, we couldn't get Cigar City. So, like, my first introduction to, like, any Cigar City beers was thanks to Matt. And it's funny because in the summer of 2010, I was actually in Key West, Florida for my my 2 weeks in the Navy Reserves, and we talked about meeting up, but we couldn't just make it happen. It did happen quite a few years later. I can't remember why. Matt had to come to Albany. I believe it was for a wedding, and I finally got to meet him face to face. And I don't think we shot anything, and there's a picture of us somewhere. I have to find it on my hard drive, but so I remember Matt actually interviewed me for his channel, and this is like 2009 or 10, like before StreamYard. I think it was even before Skype, or when it was, not very good or whatever. But I think that footage is long gone. That was on his channel, and so I had him on my show. We did 2 or 3, maybe even 4 collab reviews over Skype. Yes, actual Skype. This is before StreamYard. I got a lot of Sweetwater beers from him, Terrapin beers from him, Cigar City, obviously, and, just some other general Florida beers. So it's funny, Matt and I are still friends, I believe, on Facebook, and he actually moved north to Tennessee, and I moved from Albany, New York to Central Florida, the Orlando area. So, Matt, if you're watching, we should do a collab review again sometime. His channel is still there, so if you want to see YouTube in the heydays of, like, 2008, 9, 10, somewhere around then, check out his channel. Until then, enjoy this archive podcast. Hey, welcome to another episode of Interview with a Craft Beer Enthusiast. Today I'm interviewing Matt Stewart, MT Stewart. How you doing, Matt?
MT Stewart. Hey, how you doing, Chad? Thanks for having me.
On my Roast or Toast video, you had the first line.
I did. I love that.
Yeah.
I was very honored.
Yours was one of my favorites.
Because I called you an arrogant son of a bitch.
Yeah.
And it was basically what everybody maybe thinks about you, but it just kind of like, messing around and everything like that. But it's like watching your reviews, like you've taught me a lot because, I mean, you've been on YouTube for probably about 3, 4, maybe even 5 years. And I started doing beer reviews maybe about 3 years ago almost. I'm thinking about 3 years ago, maybe even a little bit more than that. And that's when I thought I was the only person on YouTube doing beer reviews, and I was like sorely mistaken when I saw your reviews and I saw Jay's reviews and I saw everybody else's reviews, Mark's, and it was kind of like I was like, oh, okay, this is like a cool little fraternity on YouTube of beer drinkers. Like JJ Davin's another guy who was like, hey, what's going on, and he kind of like. He's always got a smile on his face. He's kind of a funny dude and everything like that. He's a truck driver and stuff. So
yeah,
when he's out driving trucks, he's drinking beer, which is hopefully he's not doing both at the same time.
Yeah. But, so we'll start at the beginning. What's your history with beer? Were you a fizzy yellow drinker? Were you raised in a household to like appreciate alcohol, or just basically how did you become the beer enthusiast we know today?
I think like most probably beer enthusiasts, they probably I started as like a fizzy yellow drinker. Heineken, Corona, things like that, easily accessible. You could find it anywhere. And considering Florida probably isn't the best market for craft beer down here, that you really didn't get a lot of like interesting stuff down here, where it was just kind of like, okay, you get your run-of-the-mill beers, you get your Coors, you get your Miller, you get these craft beers that I call craft now because I've had the better stuff. But it started like my dad was always like a liquor drinker. He liked whiskey, he liked scotch, but he wasn't a big beer drinker. And then he got into Sierra Nevada, and he started drinking the pale ale and stuff, everything from them. And he was like, yeah, this is like good stuff. And I wasn't old enough to drink yet, so I couldn't really appreciate it. And then I started drinking like ciders, like Strongbows or Magners, Hornsby's. That kind of
Right.
started my like, hey, there's something out here that's kind of good. It's not beer, but it's something different. So I started drinking that, and then when I started going to liquor stores and seeing different beers that weren't, Coors or any of this other crap, it's like, okay, let me pick that up. Let me pick this up, and it just kind of started from there, where I found better beer than the crap I was drinking before, and the rest is history, I guess you can say.
So at what point was all this happening, and like at what point um, did you get the idea to, hey, let's talk about beer on YouTube?
It was probably around. It definitely wasn't when I was 21. It was probably something around the age of like maybe 23, 24 when I said, okay, I got cameras, I have tripods, I have equipment. Let me start recording what I have to say about these beers and everything that I'm drinking and finding. So I said, okay, screw it. Let's shoot a review. Let's film me talking some stuff about this beer that I probably didn't know anything about. And when I look back at these other reviews from like a long time ago, I'm like, what was I talking about? Like I don't really, I can't comprehend like what I talk about now to what I was talking about then because I didn't know shit back then, and I think now I have a little bit of a better palate. I understand the beer a little bit better. I understand the complexities of it, and then I put it on YouTube and started put in my tags, beer, at drinks beer, all this different stuff, and started finding other beer reviewers on YouTube, watching their reviews, kind of seeing what they're drinking, going, wow, those beers sound really good, and I want to taste those beers. So just like with that one review and that one review that I posted, I saw you guys, and that's pretty much my search for good beer after that.
You still doing the YouTube beer reviewing, beer drinking about what 2.5 years later now? Has your did you ever have like a specific mission or goal when you first got on YouTube? Like anything you wanted to accomplish, and or what is it? How has that changed now? Like what do you want to do now?
In the beginning, there really wasn't a mission. It was just me kind of having a good time, just kind of doing a review. I'm kind of a ham. I like to have a good time on camera. I like to act a little silly. I like to do crazy things.
Right.
So it was just kind of like a fun little thing in the beginning, and then at a certain time, I was like, okay, I can start doing these reviews, and and when I started getting subscriptions, it was like, oh, people are actually watching this maybe and leaving me comments that, okay, maybe they want more of me, so I'll start putting more reviews out.
Yeah.
And then there was a certain point where I was kind of doing beer reviews, but then I was doing other reviews like movie reviews and other little reviews on the side, and people would write like the nastiest comments to me, like F and F and F and this and this and this, and I would get so angry. Like I took it a little too personally, I think, at some points where I would just like say, screw it, I'm not going to do any more reviews. I've had enough of this YouTube crap because I don't want to hear these people talk about me.
Right.
And then I would see some of the stuff that people would put on your reviews or other reviews, like you're a moron, blah 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 blah. Not just you, but anybody. And you would just be like, oh, screw you guys, whatever. It's not really bothering me. And then I was kind of like, okay, you know what? Why am I taking this so literally? It's like these jerk offs that are trolling me and just being, for no reason, just maybe trying to just get rid of you on YouTube because that's what they like to do. And I have not really had that lately, so I did more reviews, and I would put the little side reviews on the side. I would do like adventures of Matt or Matt vlogs or something. But in terms of like a mission or anything like that, there's never really been a mission. It's I would like to have more subscribers. I would like to have more people watching my videos or and commenting on the videos, but it gets to a point where I'm just trying to have a good time. I'm drinking beers that I like. I tell you what I think about them, and the mission is to like people who want to watch my videos. Hey, awesome, cool, and it just turns into like a fun little thing. It's something like it's like my escape. It's like I can sit back, enjoy a beer, tell you what I think about it, and if you want to comment on it, if you want to view it, hey, awesome for you. I like that. And other than that, I mean, it's just kind of like a good time. It's
It sounds
it
like Mark Starr said this when I was interviewing him. Was for like he said, for me, it's basically a video diary first, and a review or any kind of consumer advocacy thing second. That sounds like that's how you approached your show.
I have to approach it that way because it's like I'm not gonna make any. I'm not gonna make money off of this. I'm not gonna like change anybody's opinion on certain things, and I like to mix it up. I like to like if I have an opinion about something, I'll say it. If I have something I have to say about my life, I'll say it in the review. It's like you can't take yourself too seriously or anything like that because I mean this is just beer. You're not out here changing the world or anything. So
Right.
just enjoy it and have a good time. And people who take themselves too seriously drinking beer or on YouTube, it's like, come on, man, you can't do that. It's beer.
How would you describe yourself, your knowledge level as beer right now? Novice, intermediate, expert, somewhere in between something?
Um, I would consider myself probably. I started out as a know nothing. I knew absolutely nothing about. I didn't even know what I was talking about. Like, I'm getting hints of hops, and it's like, what are you talking about? It's an old malt beer. It's like, oh, okay, I get it now. But I mean, I think now just like drinking so many beers, so many styles, and also like they say imitation is the best form of flattery. Maybe not imitating people, but like taking what they know about it already and kind of like putting that in my mind and kind of going in with that concept of what that beer is supposed to be like. Maybe that helps a lot too. Watching reviews definitely helps your palate and helps your knowledge of the beer. I would definitely say at this point, after 3 years, I'm probably an intermediate. I still have a lot to learn about different styles of beer. I just recently started drinking I just discovered like Flanders style ale, and I had never even heard of that before. It's a Belgian ale. It's kind of like a sour, champagne-y, winey type of beer, and
Right.
also like saisons and farmhouses, which I never drank before in my life. And I'm getting into that now, and I'm actually really liking it a lot. So there's still so much beer. I'm nowhere near anywhere near an expert. I will never be an expert probably because there's going to be so many beers to try out there. So I'm still learning, but I consider myself palate wise an intermediate person.
Now, when you're reviewing a beer for your show, or maybe even just drinking a beer on your own, what's your criteria? Like, what's going through your head as far as how you gauge how good it is? Like how much emphasis do you place on taste as opposed to appearance and aroma and things like that?
I think obviously the biggest thing I think is taste. It has to taste good. If it doesn't taste good, you're going to spit it out right away. Smell is important. I mean, I think I find myself now. I would never have done this before if I wasn't reviewing beers. I always find myself pouring it into a glass because I rarely drink out of a bottle like I'm doing right now, and smelling it and getting like the aroma. Like, I'm picking up nice earthy tones, or I'm picking up these nice coffee tones, or I'm picking up kind of soury, tones to it. I would never have done that before. So smell was good. I mean, obviously some beers do taste better than they do smell. Um, but I mean, as far as appearance doesn't really bother me unless it looks like green. Maybe that would bother me a little bit.
Right.
But I mean, um, smell is secondary, but taste is obviously the first thing. And then I like to, I enjoy my beer. If I'm not reviewing a beer, I'll drink a 22-ounce bottle, a bomber or something, and it will probably take me about an hour and a half or 2 hours to drink it because I want to enjoy the beer.
You said yourself you used to be a fizzy yellow drinker. Now you find yourself when you're hanging around fizzy yellow drinkers that you're have to defend your taste in good beer now or try to convert them.
I do that all the time. There's probably about 4 days a week if I go out drinking with friends. Or I was just having a conversation with a buddy of mine. He was texting me. He was in some bar in Miami, and they had these different. They had like Cigar City beers, and they had some Rogue beers, and they had some nice beers on tap. And he was like texting me back and forth saying, "Say, what does the lacing mean again?" I'm like, "Oh, the lacing means like the hop content and like how much like the fresh hops in the beer." And he's like, "Oh, wow, it's awesome." And then he's asking me about like, "Hey, what do you think about this beer?" And I'm texting him my recommendations from like the actual like tap, like all the beers they have on tap and stuff like that. So that's just like a random conversation I had with a friend of mine who was downtown drinking at a bar. And then other times when I'm at other bars, they're like, "Hey, Matt, what should I get?" I'm like, "Oh, well, try that." And I'm like, "Well, really?" I'm like, "Yeah, it has this. It has these floral notes to it. It's a high hop content. The ABV isn't too high, so it's not really a high alcohol content, but it's still sessionable at the same time." And they're like, "Whoa, that's awesome!" And then it's funny. Like people kind of in my group of friends, they come to me for like I'm like the beer advocate of the group. And granted, I don't know it all, but I know more than they do, I guess. So,
Right.
which is kind of it's cool. It's like somebody who knows beer and they come to ask you about it because I drink. They're probably out of 7 days a week. There's probably at least 5 days a week where I drink at least one beer, and it's not some fizzy yellow crap. It's a
Right.
pretty nice craft beer that it's just kind of going in the mental Rolodex of like, hey, I've had that, I've had that, I've had that. If somebody asks me about it, I'm like, yeah, I know that beer. What do you want to know about it?
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen you've had a couple of your friends as guest reviewers once in a while, and your girlfriend Nicole has been on uh, quite a few episodes. You ever think about doing like just kind of like the Amiso Fats, where like it's the two of you in every episode, or does she prefer just being the occasional guest?
It has to be a beer that she really likes. I mean, as you could probably tell with a lot of the beer reviews that I've done with her, it's like usually like a fruit beer or like a sweeter beer, and it's usually something she would pick out herself. She's like, "Oh, go to the beer store," and it's like, "Oh, I want that." And it's like, "Okay, well, if I get it, you have to review it with me." She's like, "Okay." Then she reviews it with me. So, um, I don't really want to copy the Amos so fast because they're kind of like they're the trendsetters of like the duo beer review,
Right.
and they're probably the best on YouTube in my opinion. All the other beer drinkers or all the other beer duos have to like bow down to the I'm So Fats for like being entertaining and being fun. And
Yeah.
Melissa's really funny. Gary plays off her really well and everything. So um, they've even commented like they don't comment on a lot of videos I do, but they definitely comment on the ones that Nicole and I do, and like, oh my god, you guys are hilarious. I'm like, well, we're just kind of like this is the homage to the Almost So Fats when we do our reviews. So
Yeah. Have you ever
I would
had
love.
like your opinions were like night and day on one beer where you loved it and she hated it, or vice versa?
Yeah, we did a Cigar City beer, and Cigar City, as everybody knows, it's a Tampa brewing company, probably one of the higher rated craft brewers in like the entire country. They make really good beer. We had the it's a guava beer, and Jay reviewed this beer actually. I think he got it from somebody down here. Guava Grove Cigar City.
Right.
I did not like it at all. I hated it. It was sour. It was yeah, I don't know. It was really really bad. But she loved it. She was like, "Oh, I really like this beer a lot," and I don't know. To me it was horrible, but she loved it a lot. And
Uh-huh.
we played off of each other back and forth. But that was like the out of like the four reviews we've done, that was the one review where we were at complete odds. Where it's like, "You're crazy. I don't even know what the hell you're doing this review with me for." So,
Yeah.
uh,
What's some of your favorite styles of beer, and like what's your, if you have any individual beers that you would consider your favorites?
hmm, um, I would have to say probably it's such a departure from what I used to like and not like. I would have to say IPAs are probably my second favorite right now. And I used to hate IPAs. I could not stand the hoppiness. I could not stand. It's such an acquired taste that I would drink it and it's like, so bitter. I don't want this anymore. But the more I drink IPAs and the complexity of IPAs, especially when they're doing all these different brewing techniques with it, like a black IPA, or they mix like some different brewing style with an IPA. It's so interesting that it's such a good brewing technique to combine with other methods, like like a Belgian IPA or something like that. It's like you can do almost any combination with an IPA and it tastes pretty good and it's interesting. And then I would probably say my first one would probably be a brown ale. I like Newcastle, even though it's still kind of like a macro brew, but Cigar City Maduro Brown Ale is probably one of the better brown ales on the market right now. They have some nut brown ales, also like a Bolita is another one from Cigar City, and I guess this also brings me to one of my favorite breweries is probably Cigar City. Not to just say it's from Florida, but they just make a really nice, diverse compilation of beers. I mean, they go from rye ales to brown ales to IPAs to oak aged IPAs to, I mean, they have so many different styles that it's I mean to stouts to imperial stouts. I mean, and I don't know, I like to rep my my home state because we don't really have a lot of beer to like say, hey, we did it or anything like that. So,
Yeah.
I mean, New York has Southern Tier. New York has so many Brooklyn Brewery. You have so many different breweries you can go from. Whereas like Florida's like a dead zone down here, and it kind of sucks. And even like the craft beer market, it's just kind of like starting down here. Whereas in other states like California or New York, or even Texas, they've been doing craft beer for years, and it sucks that we kind of missed the boat in the beginning, but now we're finally getting on the boat, which to me is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I guess that about wraps it up with the interview with Matt. So thanks, Matt, for doing the interview. Your channel is youtube.com/mtstewart. And if you do a search on Facebook under Beards and Beards, your fan page will come up, right?
Beers and Beards with Matt, but if you search Beers and Beards, you would be able to find me as well. So yeah, if you
Cool.
wanna, I post pictures. I haven't posted in probably about a week or so, but I have a lot of stuff on my iPhone of all the beers that I haven't reviewed, but I have drunk. So those will be up. Most of the video beer reviews and the text beer reviews show up on that site as well. So if you don't want to see my lovely face on YouTube, you can just watch my lovely words on my text reviews. So
All right. Well, thanks for doing this interview, and thanks for everybody out there watching. So we'll see you later. Bye.
take it easy, guys.